everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Proud Skill Worker. Today, we have the opportunity to talk with Isaac. Isaac, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate you carving time out of your day. First things, kind of tell us, where are you right now?
Hey, Michael. Over here in Cudahy, Wisconsin, it's right under Milwaukee. I'm working at a Smithfield plant as a mechanical technician. Um, yeah.
What's that plant producing up there, Isaac? I know you're in Smithfield up there, but what are they making?
So the Smithfield up here seems they do a bit of everything. I've heard they're kind of each plant is different. So some just do bacon, sliced lunch meat, sausage. Ours kind of does everything. So we do the ready to eat products, the raw products as far as bacon goes, maybe bacon bits, down in the microwave division. They do the sliced lunch meat there, stuffing and grinding for the sausage. So yeah, they have a good bit going on over here in Cudahy.
You guys cover curb to curb in that facility, or are you guys broken out by the RTE and the RTC side, or what's that look like?
Right, yeah. So we're broken down from like the RTE and the raw side. So
Okay, what side are you on?
I'm in the raw at
Okay.
the moment. So
Okay.
I'm on the north end. So there's two ends in bacon, and I'm in the bacon division. So there's the south end where they're finishing and packing, and then there's the north end where they're bringing the raw product in and processing to send it down to the south end.
Cool. And are you from the Wisconsin area? I mean, it's kind of, hey, home for you. Like, where are you originally from?
No, so I'm from South Carolina, the Greenville area. I know Clemson's a big football team around there. If anybody's ever heard of them, so yeah, that's kind of home for me. That's where I grew up. So,
All right. So leads me to my question I ask everybody is, tell us a little bit about yourself, like how you got into the trades, how you got into traveling, what you're looking to do, and then, maybe your biggest challenge. So first off, how'd you get into trades? Tell us your story.
well, let's see. I'd say probably going all the way back to high school. I was real big on cars. It kind of just started out as something basic, but like the love kind of grew over time, right? And so coming up, just doing simple jobs on the car, like brake changes and oil changes, just simple stuff, and it kind of got me intrigued and into it. And I'd help friends do little stuff on their cars, and that kind of is what started the wrench turning, I guess you should say. So from there, I got a job towards the end of high school over at Planet Fitness, and it was like the first job title that had like maintenance position in it. So I was part of the front desk team, but I would help do maintenance on the equipment there at the gym, like as far as PMs go and stuff like that. So once I did a bit of that, I graduated and went over to Washington State to visit my brother. And I was up there. I liked it. I was like, okay, this is nice. So I decided to look for a job. There was a place called Trident Seafoods up there. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it, but I went in there and I was like, talked to them at the interview. I'm fresh. I'm ready to learn. I'm a quick learner, active listener. These kind of things interest me. I'm at home watching YouTube about cars. I'm in my garage. I would love if you guys give me the opportunity. And they're like, yeah, okay. So they gave me this opportunity, and which I was super grateful for. I was able to get in there and learn a lot. The way that plant was structured, it was a smaller plant, and the maintenance team were all one. We weren't like unionized or anything, so we were all doing everything. We're all relying on each other, helping each other, keeping this production going, doing the rebuilds. So being able to get in there with that experienced group of guys in a small area for the 3 years I was there was really beneficial as far as learning and team building and learning skills that would last. So
That's awesome, man. So 3 years at Trident, and then from there, kind of straight to skill work, or kind of a transition, or what's that look like?
yeah, so I was looking into moving back home. I was looking into getting engaged with my current wife. We're married now, so I was looking to move back home to South Carolina. Thank you. And I was looking around for jobs, like I should secure a job before I get there, kind of thing. and I seen skill work. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'm young, traveling. Why not? So I brought it up to the fiance. She was like, oh, yeah, that sounds like that could be fun. So we started talking about it. I started talking to the coordinator here at Skillworks, and yeah, now here we are.
I love it. I love it. So does your wife travel with you, or is she at home?
Yeah, she is traveling with me currently. This is our first contract, so we'll see how this goes. Everything's really well so far. We're about 3.5 months in. We're enjoying the
Love it.
time. So
I love it. I love it. So happy to hear that. I mean, that's such a cool adventure, right? Like you and your wife get to travel. Had plans to go back home, but kind of just ended up landed on a different boat and ended up in a different location and just kind of making the best of it with your wife and your work and your career. So that's awesome, man.
yeah, definitely.
So what do you think's been the biggest challenge for you in your career?
I'd say that's a difficult one. I try to when I perceive something as challenging or difficult, I try to just see it as the next obstacle to get past, right? So I mean, I would really just say when you're coming into somewhere new, I guess trying to prove, and it's not really a challenge, but trying to prove to the guys in the new facility that you're rolling into. Like when I came up here for the first time, like Trident was my main. It was my home. It was my base. It's where I was from. It's where I learned everything. It's where I've seen everything. So walking into Smithfield on the production floor with the maintenance team for the first day is kind of like, oh, I got to get in here. I got to prove myself. Show these guys what I know and learn more, right? So I'd say like the biggest challenge is to get out of your comfort zone, kind of thing, and
Yeah.
force yourself out there and see what you can do. If you never put yourself in the situation to explore and continue the growth and learning, then you're kind of going to be at a standstill.
Yeah, you end up stagnant, right? Like if you're not willing to stretch yourself, you're never going to grow. So you end
Right.
up very stagnant in your growth. So it's interesting. So that brings us, Isaac, as you likely know, maybe you don't know, we're doing a mini series here on the Proud Skill Worker of kind of what are the skills of maintenance? What are the skills every individual technician should be striving for? We've asked everybody, what do you think that the 2 to 4 skills that you think when you see on the floor are most important in the maintenance field? So, you talked about getting out of your comfort zone, being uncomfortable, being willing to stretch yourself. What do you think? I mean, is that one of those 4 that we talk about, or like what are the two or 3 most important skills in your opinion to be in maintenance?
That's a really good question. I'd definitely say there's a lot of skills involved. I'd say a really big one, especially like being new in the field, would be like active listening. If that's going to get you a long ways. The My shop foreman was able to teach me a lot when I was over at Trident, just from me spending time with him, coming in, working on PMs, working on rebuilds, listening to what he's saying, having a notepad, being able to keep that information, for recollect at a later date, so you can, it's vital information. So I definitely say active listening and remembering, so you're able to take that and troubleshoot. um, what's another big one? I guess going along with the whole entire getting out of your comfort zone, being adaptable in a situation or in a new plant, or kind of in my situation, how I came into this new plant, being adaptable and being able to adjust accordingly to be able to fit into the role of the new team that you're going into, or maybe something happened for the day and you have to go down to a different department or work with some guys you never have before, to be adaptable in that situation and assess it. And if you feel that you might need to lead the situation and it's a group of younger guys underneath you, then that's what you're going to have to do. So just to be able to adapt and actively listen. I'd say those are really big. The whole entire getting out of your comfort zone. Uh, what else? see. I'd say organization. Actually, this is something I noticed last week working with working with a few of the guys. Organization is a big thing, you know, and I guess it would depend really who you are. But as far as if it bothers you or not when you look at your toolbox, if it's just all over the place. But being organized will definitely save you a little bit of a headache and time on the job as far as efficiency goes. And, you know, you don't want to leave anything behind. So as long as you can account for everything and stuff like that, then I'd
Yeah.
say that's very beneficial.
I love it. I think it's interesting. We talk about these skills, and I've asked probably 10, 12, 15 people who've been on the podcast this question, and nobody has given me a hard skill, Isaac. Everybody is giving soft skills. So like when you talk about active listening, that's a soft skill.
Right.
Being adaptable, soft skill. This is all things we can work on ourselves, right? We don't need a manufacturing line to grow in that ability. We don't need it. We don't need a manufacturing line to grow in our ability to be organized. That's just something we work on ourselves. So all of these skills that we've discussed, nobody's come to me and been like, hey man, what you really need to do is get better with a multimeter. I'm like, okay, like that's great too. That's a good skill. But everyone has been like, soft skill, soft skill, soft skill, because everybody says something similar to what you said in the adaptability, right? Team to team, person to person, you have to be able to adjust to them, and you have to be able to really make that happen and that matter. So when you get into these facilities that have different personalities than what you're used to, if you're going to just walk around and be the guy with the dirty toolbox who's also a grouch, who also really doesn't listen because he's like, I'm going to do things my own way, you're probably not going to succeed very long. But you get in there and you have an organized toolbox and you're next to the guy and you're like, hey, how can I help? And he gives you wop, 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 1, 2, 3 steps. You go do them all and come back. Okay, those are good. Now what? Like you're starting to build rapport really quickly. And people are really willing to train someone who they have good rapport with. They're not so willing to train someone who they don't want to be around.
Right.
So, and I was curious for you, Isaac, like you're a younger guy in a field that is predominantly shifting younger, but right now is heavy on probably the generation before you or even 2 generations before you. So how do you learn these skills? How did you realize that these were important skills for you? And then how did you implement them? So like, what was the moment where you went, oh, I get it?
Well, like I said before, and like you were just touching on how our industry is kind of transitioning into the next generation that's coming up, the younger guys, and most of the older guys are getting out of there. But I think, while we have the time, like especially for me at Trident, how I was able to give him my shop foreman. He was an older guy. He was ready to retire, but he had a lot of experience in the field and a lot of time. And being and I'm sure it'll happen to me one day, but being that old, he was able to work on older style equipment that had then been retrofitted, or it's still old. So he has all types of knowledge, the old kind, the stuff that's coming out now, retrofitting, all of it. So being able to get in there while we can and still get the knowledge from the older guys that we might not be able to see, again, it's not taught. It's not the stuff that's going on now, but those little old tips and tricks, they definitely will help a lot and get you through, instead of overthinking it or overcomplicating it. Just being able to use common sense and problem solving skills to nip something in the bud is great. So yeah, I definitely say you try to utilize the older guys that are around you, at your job and your department, and just talk to them. Just if you have a problem, bring it up to them, work through it. They might see something that you've never seen before, instead of you just standing around bursting your brain and like, oh man, I don't know what's going on. It's always okay to ask questions because you got to learn. So
yeah, I think that's a great point, right? Like ask questions. That's part of that active listening that you talked about, is asking follow-on questions. Okay, I hear what you're saying. I need help with this piece. I need help with getting more engaged in the conversation is huge.
Right. Right. And not so much just always asking for help, but just to be, like you said, engaging and, not stomping yourself. But it always is good to allow yourself to work through a problem so you can troubleshoot by yourself and go through your own process because you're not always going to have someone there. So,
Right. Yeah, I think I'm curious to know, you've transitioned to different industries and you don't have to use names or locations, but in the two shops you've been in, you talked about, the culture in both of those. And it feels like the culture in both shops has been pretty good, and has definitely steered itself towards allowing young technicians to grow. What if you were in a place that was maybe a little bit more abrasive? What do you think and I know it's a hard question because maybe you haven't been in one, or maybe you have and we just didn't talk about it. But, some guys tell me like, yeah, I want to learn, but the guy I work with is just, he doesn't want to help me. He doesn't want to train me. He wants to hold all that information for himself. How would you go about that? If that, because, I want to know, how would you kind of get underneath that and start to build that relationship?
well, that is a difficult situation that obviously no one hopes for. I'd honestly say the best thing that you can do, with something like that is just go in there, kind of like I was saying a minute ago. You're not always going to have someone next to you, anyways. So go ahead and take your prior knowledge and, you know, a skill of like relation. If you've never seen this machine, try to work through it, and get that problem waddled down. I'm sure if it becomes a big enough issue where you haven't been able to fix it yet, he's going to have to, whoever the guy is that you need to work with, he's going to have to show up. He's going to have to come out. Um, when you're there, I'd say just keep it friendly, keep it nice, explain your side of what you've seen because you're the guy that's been there. And if he tries to jump in and take over, watch as best as you can. Be his back pocket. Sit there, and if he doesn't like you, he doesn't like you. You're still trying to learn. You got to be in his back pocket. You got to watch him, and maybe he'll notice over time. Okay, he is trying to watch me. Okay, maybe I should let this guy learn. Whatever it might be. I'd say just keep it friendly. Be his back pocket. Try your best. Go out there and use your own skill. And over time, using your own skill and a skill of relation from something you've seen before, you should be able to figure out the problem and start, being able to do these things alone.
Mm.
Maybe, even at that rate, once he sees that you're doing it alone and you're excelling and you don't let things stomp you and you try again, have that determination, which is another good skill. Maybe he'll like that and he'll want to show you more. So it's always about being determined and driven and, try again. And yeah, do the best you can. Do what you know.
I love it. So for me, Isaac, kind of that's where we're going to end today. But I always like to turn it over to you and everybody on the podcast, and just say, if you had we built an imaginary soapbox, and every industrial maintenance technician in the country can hear Isaac right now. What's the one thing you would say? What's the thing you would tell everybody? Word of encouragement, word of growth, word of what is the thing?
I don't know. That's hard. I got a lot I could say.
We got a lot of time.
Right. Honestly, just keep it friendly. You never know what somebody's going through at home. You never know somebody's situation when they're coming through the door. Always give a lending hand or a helping hand. If you have the knowledge, you have the skills. Show somebody new something. It'll benefit you. It'll benefit them. You guys will bond. It'll be a better a team. So you'll be able to team build. I'd say just be friendly to your coworkers. Always give a hand. Always help out. Don't be the guy that comes in and nobody wants to see because he's always grouchy or doesn't do anything or doesn't help. Nobody likes that. So yeah, just do your best you can. Show up.
I love it. Isaac, thank you again so much for being on the show. Thank you to all of you who are listening. It's awesome to be a part of the Proud Skill Worker. It's awesome to have guests like Isaac. If anybody wants to be on the show, if anybody has an opinion, please leave a comment. Please reach out. We'd love to have you on. You don't have to work for Skill Work or be a part of Skill Work to be on the show. We'd love to host. So if nobody has anything else, we're We're going to wrap up the show. Isaac, thanks so much. Enjoy Wisconsin. Enjoy the wife. Recently married. Congratulations. Sneaking into 6 months now? 5, 6 months. Is that right?
6 months.
There it is. Congratulations. Awesome. You guys get to travel together. And thank you again so much for being on the show. Bye, everybody.